Good day, class. This will be a short discussion on the measures of central tendency and measures of dispersion insofar as the computational aspect is concerned using MS Excel. The intention of this lesson is for you to understand that the computational side of statistical analysis requires a basic understanding of either the scientific calculator or the MS Excel software. And because we are in college, you are expected to be conversant with the use of MS Excel, either in your reporting requirements using data or as part of your ICT lessons in senior high as well as in college. So if we are, let's say, given this data on monthly income, okay, we're supposed to learn how to implement the Excel commands for the computation of the measures of central tendency, which are the mean, median, and mode, and the measures of dispersion such as the range, the variance, the standard deviation, and the interquartile range. When we talk about interquartile range, we're talking about the middle 50% of the distribution. In high school, you have understood that when a data set, however large or small the data set is, we can always divide them into quartiles or into four portions. The first quartile will cover the 25%, the first 25%, the second quartile, the second 25, third quartile, the third 25%, and the fourth quartile, the last 25% of the data set. So if we look at this in MS Excel, in the spreadsheet, we have columns 1, 2, and 3. So column 1 will be for the labels, and column 2 will be for the commands, and column 3 will be the data set. So this in the spreadsheet will be identified as column A, column B, and column C. And we will be having the data set, okay, starting from C2 until the last data point, which will be 62. So for B1 and C1, these are the labels. B1 has the label command and C1 has the label monthly income. Okay, for the variance, you go to the next cell and then encode equals var open parenthesis C2 colon C24 close parenthesis and then hit return. For standard deviation, you go to the next vacant cell and you encode equals stdev, okay, for standard deviation, open parenthesis C2 colon C24 close parenthesis and then hit return. Okay, for the interquartile range, we will have to encode equals, okay, quartile, and you go open parenthesis, okay, C2 colon C24 comma, okay, 3 close parenthesis minus quartile open parenthesis, C2 colon C24, comma 2, close parenthesis, and then hit return, and you will get the interquartile range. So for the values that we were able to generate for the mean, median, mode, okay, and range, we need to multiply those values by 1000 because our data is in thousands. And we would be able to find now the actual value for this mean, median, mode, and range. Okay. So when we have all these values, this gives us an understanding of the convergence of the data points, where they cluster and how spread out they are. When two data sets are being compared, we automatically will have to look at both the mean and the standard deviation to be able to have a clearer picture on how the data behaves. When we meet in class, we will make these illustrations more friendly to you, and then we will also provide the lesson on the use of the calculators. If you have questions, reserve those questions when we meet on site, and that will be next week. Okay, our meeting for the on-site class will have to be on a Monday or Tuesday, because as per the advanced information from our dean, I need to attend with some of our colleagues at the College of Science for a write shop on science and math research, which will be conducted face-to-face somewhere in Malilipot. So I hope to see you next week, either Monday or Tuesday, so that we might be able to discuss some of the questions and clarify some of the difficulties you have with this. Those who have laptops, kindly bring them, and those with calculators, also bring them. You're not required to buy a scientific calculator. If you have none, borrow one. So thank you for listening to this short discussion, and let us fully understand the meaning and the implications of these values when we are required to provide the measures of central tendency and measures of dispersion. Thank you. Okay, for clarity on the commands, we have this additional slide because of some difficulties reading through the commands. So for the computation of the mean, we need to go to the cell right after the last data point, which is 62, which is in C, column C, row 24. So for column 25, column C, we go and encode equals the command as written out, average, open parenthesis, C2 colon C24 close parenthesis, and then hit return. That will give us 34.04347826, and the actual value should be multiplied by 1000 because the data points are in thousands. For the median, we go to the next empty cell, which will be C26, and we encode equals median, open parenthesis, C2 colon C24 close parenthesis, hit return, that gives us 32, and the actual value will have to be multiplied by 1000 for the same reason, given out for the value of the mean. For the mode, we go to the next empty cell and we go encode equals mode, open parenthesis, C2 colon C24 close parenthesis, and then hit return, and that gives us 18 times 1000. That will be our value for the mode. For the range, we will have to encode equals max, open parenthesis, C2 colon C24 close parenthesis, minus min, which stands for minimum, open parenthesis, C2 colon C24 close parenthesis, equal, and hit return, and you will have the value for the range, which will be equal to 50 times 1000. Okay, please understand that the mode may not be unique, and for this example that we have for the data points, the mode is given out to be 18. Okay, now for all of these values, what we will have to understand is that we're trying to represent a data set by a few information which are identifying characteristics of the entire data set. So generally, to characterize a data set, we use one measure of central tendency, and the default value for the central tendency will be generally the mean, unless there are extreme values, by which we use either the median or the mode. And the measure of central tendency, which will be the generally used central tendency measure, will be the standard deviation, because it is more easily interpretable than the variance. The interquartile range is given out as a characterization of the middle 50% of the data set, which helps those who need to understand the data points as to how much of the data points are within the middle 50%, because the last quartile on either the left or the right side, which will be Q1 and Q4, will have the relatively extreme values to the left and to the right. So this is where we would like to emphasize the commands in Excel to let you know that computation of the measures of central tendency and measure of dispersion is as easy as clicking some of the buttons in MS Excel, and that shouldn't worry you at all. Also, the use of calculators can easily give us the mean and the variance and the standard deviation, but the interquartile range or the median cannot easily be provided for using the scientific calculator. So try to use as much as possible MS Excel in the processing of the data sets. But for those without the resource or cannot borrow a laptop, we will just make do with the calculator. So thank you very much. I hope this helps give you some motivation that learning of statistical terminologies as well as the facility of using statistics in the understanding of how data behaves and how this data evidence can provide the justification or the validation for some of your decisions. So, see you.